Hey everyone, Jeff Mackerlin here, and today I have my good friend and amazing guitar player Adam Levy joining me. You may know Adam from his work with Norah Jones in the past, as well as Tracy Chapman and all his great solo records. So definitely check out Adam and his own YouTube page. Great player. Today we're going to talk about coming up with some really interesting voicings on the guitar, and a really great way to just open up the fingerboard in general. So let's check it out. All right, everybody, I'm happy to be joined by my good friend Adam Levy. We've known each other for 30 years, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So one of my favorite things about Adam's playing, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, is some of your chordal stuff. It's just beautiful. So if you could maybe give people some insight and a way to think about not just playing the same old, maybe something that a concept that you would teach people to maybe open up the fingerboard and to develop some new chordal ideas.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things come to mind. First of all, to start thinking about chords melodically, meaning from the top down. It's so easy on the guitar to think about the bass note up because, it's closest to your face, I guess. And also the way we chart things when we make little chord grids or whatever, we tend to think from the bottom up. You learn bar chords it's there. But really, think about what's happening on the top, because that's how a lot of people are going to hear it anyways.
Let's go something real simple.
Okay, so C.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not even going to play a funny shape that you've never seen before. I'm just going to play two notes. We could say that's the interval of a sixth. It's easy to grab. It's sweet sounding. You've probably played it before because it's part of a C major, just basic campfire C major. But let's follow that up these two strings and just pretend we have a two-string guitar, and that's all we have. Somehow you've managed to break 4 strings on this gig. You only got 2 left, so okay. That's happening, and then here we start on C scale, but starting on E, so E, F, G, A, B, C. So great. Now, any of that could be a C major chord. Or what are the other chords in C? It could be part of an A minor chord. It could be part of an F major chord. And so on. And the idea that when we think of a chord, it to me is like we just took all of the notes of the scale and put them on the table, and we could just kind of grab at what we want. And especially going back to the thing I said at the beginning, thinking melodically. So if you're playing chords and it's just A minor, and I can just think, so that could be, or could be, or all of that. Mick Goodrick in The Advancing Guitarist talks about playing this way.
Sure.
Gene Bertoncini in his book, Approaching the Guitar, talks about practicing this way. I haven't discovered this stuff, but I've spent more time playing intervals up and down the fretboard this way than almost any other single thing. Like
Yeah.
if you made a pie chart of stuff I've practiced over the last few years. And so I think that's what leads me to maybe having a different chordal vocabulary than some guitar players.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And I've heard Eric Johnson discuss this thing as well, because you hear when his voice sings, you can hear all this. So he's talked about like, well, how I see it as opposed to thinking about it. He's like, I just see it from the chord this way, and I move this finger down to this note of the scale, and I love the sound. Just a quick break. If you like the channel, please hit the like and subscribe, as it always really helps, of course. If you were interested in what Adam's talking about, I have a course of my own out called Unlocking the Major Scale, a creative approach to understanding the fingerboard. And here I show you many of the same exact concepts that Adam's discussing. I take these through 1 string, 2 strings, 3 strings, chord voicings, how you can start to mix up the fingerboard and see the guitar as 6 individual instruments in one. This approach changed my playing much in the way that Adam's discussing it, and that course is on sale using a special price above or below. But it's the understanding that the guitar isn't shapes, really. It can be, but it's all these strings relate to each other, and if you start to see the guitar on 1 string at a time and how they connect, and that was the big eye-opener for me as well. When I would see my favorite players play with such freedom and not see them playing in boxes or positions. You're like, he's just freely moving all over the place. And everybody I've spoken to, like yourself and me, once I started seeing that, then everything changed. And it was, we used to teach at the National Guitar Workshop years ago, and it was also Mick Goodrick as well, too, talking about the stuff, sitting in the class and watching him play, and he was doing that, and I was like, I don't know how to do that, and he's like, well, it's just C major, I'm just moving it around, and the head exploded and changed everything at that point,
Yeah, and he really took that concept super far. It is a stretch, I think, for a lot of people when they first start out.
Sure.
To play a chord and think that this shape doesn't even have the root in it. Like I'm playing, like you could say, okay, this is an A minor 7 chord, but I'm not making the sound of A anywhere in this.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's like, wait, what? Or they can't hear it. And so sometimes I would like, okay, I'll just sing A. Because you need to hear it. It can't just be that you know it in your brain. Like you have to hear it. So okay, sing A, or sing. If we want to make this an F major, whatever, sharp 11, boom, boom. Like it has to. I have to hear it. So sometimes I'll try that.
And if singing you feel like that's a bit tiring, you know what I mean? I even just use a looper, play an A, loop an A note.
Oh.
And then I just work through it. But I do need to hear it, and I do try to register like, oh, that's A. But this is what it sounds like with the F and the bass. However, you're hearing now play the F and then play the same thing, and then you start to have the use of this in all different situations.
That is cool.
The looper thing is easiest because I know for me that you're singing and after a while you're like
right.
You know what I mean? And it's good to hear it, but the looper was the big thing for me.
Okay, cool. Let's say you had a simple chord progression like C, A minor, F, G. Pretty common, right? I would look for ways to think about it, maybe where you keep the same note on top. If you know your triads well enough to do that. So here's like let's put E on top of all of those chords. So here's a C triad with E on top. Now I want to go to A minor and keep E on top. It turns out there's one that's right there. And so far, we're not inventing chords that people haven't seen before, but just conceptually, and we'll see where this goes in a minute. But okay, now F with E on top. E is not really part of an F chord, but we could either maybe do this or this. There might be some other way to do it, but those come to mind. And then G with E on top. Again, E is not really part of the chord, but we could do this. Or, I don't know, this is uncomfortable, but it exists. It could be this. And not to say that E is the best note or whatever, but I just was like, okay.
An exercise.
An exercise. Sometimes as an exercise, maybe I'll go up the C scale and go through those chords again. So we could try C with C on. What I'm going to try to do is like just have a C scale on top. Right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we go, okay, C, A minor with D on top. Well, we could do this. Or we maybe, like there's an A minor 7 with a D on top, but either one of those. Or again, if you like to stretch, there's this. And then F with E on top. We already did that. G with F on top. And I'm just thinking, okay, this is a G triad. Where can I grab an F? This is not a shape I necessarily have memorized or use all the time, but it's easy enough to, okay, that's a G triad, and there's one with F on top. Now back to C with G on top, A minor with A on top. Well, there's this, or this. F, now we need B on top. So that's going to be interesting. So maybe I could do, or and then a G chord with C on top might lead us, if you want something a little spicy, you could think about, or it could just simply be this. Right? That's like just like a D shape.
G sus4 in a way, but you're hearing it with the top note,
right,
going
so
up the scale.
That really could shift your whole perspective if you start thinking about chords from the melody rather than the bottom up.
Yeah, what I find it does too is it gives you sounds that at your discovery you might get a half step on the top two notes, like a B and a C, and then suddenly this other sound just opens up.
Yeah,
and then you can see what I also loved when you played the G down there with the E on top. It's an E minor triad, but you're not thinking about it as an E minor triad, even though it is an E minor triad. You're hearing it as with this G in the bass, maybe, or so it starts to open up different sounds to when you're playing a G chord, or right that you're or improvising or working through something in the key of no sharps or flats. The key of C. You have all these different sounds that start to come alive. Yes. That you're not going to see when you're thinking the blocky chords.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know why we're sort of taught this way, but it's just how we're taught on the guitar tends to lead us from the bottom up. And simply by just thinking top down, it can lead you into places chordally, and as you say, when you're improvising, it's like, oh, I never thought of E as a note that I'd necessarily want to play on a G chord. But I remember when I was practicing my chords, I got there, and it was cool. So, right, it opens up vistas, this way and this way.
Yeah. And what I also love about it is you start to discover, I've done similar things because we're coming from the background of think of some of the same players that we love. It opened up sounds that became, I think, sort of distinctly me after a while. Yeah, and then through experimenting, and the chords are not just like you said, pictures, like pentatonic scales are not. When you learn a pentatonic scale across one or two strings, you're suddenly like, oh, this is completely different than me playing a box position or a fingering. Right. So yeah, for me, you start to hear these sounds that start to bend your ear, and the more you experiment with them, the more you start to accept those sounds as something that you might have felt was a little strange at first, right?
And as you say, like you start to find your own kind of pet sounds. I mean, in the same way that we all use the same pentatonic boxes. I mean, everybody does and has done for 50 or 60, longer than that. But as far as like the music that we listen to or whatever, like starting with Chicago blues and stuff, all the way back from that till now, it's the same boxes, but every player sounds different. And I think we can do the same thing with chords. Like you start to find sounds that are like just you go back to.
First, okay, before we finish up, you got a new record or anything coming out, right? Don't you?
I do. I have a record out called Household. Yeah.
And where can people get that record?
Anywhere that you find records in the digital space now.
Okay, cool.
You know, yeah.
And buy his record. Don't just stream it, because that's how we make our living. So
That's true. Thanks. Well, if you want to buy the record, check it out on Bandcamp. I have a Bandcamp.
I'll put the
page.
link for it.
Okay,
there.
thank you.
And everybody, go check out Adam's page if you have not already done so here on YouTube. It's great. More stuff like this. And man, thanks for coming over.
Jeff, thanks so much.
My pleasure. All
Yeah.
right, so I'll see you guys later. See you, Adam. Take it easy, man. So once again, I want to say thank you to Adam. Please check out his website. Check out his record. Also, my course, Unlocking the Major Scale, is on sale using a special price above or below, covering many of the concepts that Adam talks about. Tabs, PDF, backing tracks, the whole thing. So that's on sale using that link. I will see you guys the next time.